all, it's Ruth Marie Hamilton. I'm going to be reading to you today from my mum's book, Little House in the Bush by Wendy Hamilton, about growing up in New Zealand. And if it sounds a little bit like the stories I tell on my blog, that's because I actually grew up on the same piece of land, just on the other side of it. And it was really quite wonderful. Let us begin. Town living is making the girls soft, said Dad, looking at me and my two sisters as we lounged about reading. What do you mean? Asked Mum, her eyebrows shooting up and her knitting needles slowing. You're not thinking of shifting us to some remote place in the bush, are you? The needles stopped completely at this appalling idea. I love town life. Yeah, not permanently, said Dad. I just thought if we sold the beach section, the Three Bears cottage, we could buy a block of land. Sell and buy, Mum echoed, dropping her knitting in excitement. Her eyes glazed over like a kid looking through a sweet shop window. Mum loved the cut and thrust of wheeling and dealing. Her father had been a salesman, and her childhood homes were perched above dairies or shoe shops. Wendy is 13. It's high time our children experience their pioneering heritage, continued Dad, imagining bush hikes and possum hunting. Three Bears is not returning much rent, said Mum, thinking of their little old miner's cottage, but we could sell it for a good profit. A bit of bush would be nice. My great-grandfather cleared 10 acres of timber by hand, said Dad, swinging an imaginary axe. 50-acre blocks are cheap in the Hokianga currently, said Mum, tapping her tooth with the end of an empty knitting needle. Now is a good time to buy land in the far north. In 10 years' time it will be worth a fortune. I want to be able to drop the girls off in the bush by helicopter and have them survive off the land for a month, said Dad, sharpening an imaginary bush knife. Are we going for a helicopter ride? Asked Antoinette, looking up from her book suddenly. Her long elongated into haughtiness, and her normal voice continued in that strange British accent. That will be something to tell the girls at school, she said, adjusting the plastic tiara on her head. No, said Dad hastily. You're not really going to go up in a helicopter. It's just an expression. Oh, I might have known, said Antoinette, dropping back into her normal accent. I hate living in this family. I'm 12, and I've never done anything glamorous. Megan's father has a sports car, and Tony's mother lets her wear lipstick, but I never get to do anything. We should get a lot more for the beach section than we paid for it, said Mum, ignoring Antoinette's outburst. Since the council drained the swamp, the price of land has gone up. A bit of pasture would be nice, said Dad. I used to milk the family cow when I was 3. Cows, said Mum, losing the glazed look. I don't like the sound of milking a cow. Oh no, said Dad reassuringly. We wouldn't milk a cow because we wouldn't be living there. I thought I could run a few extra stairs on the land to make a bit of extra cash. Extra cash is always a good idea, said Mum, glazing over again. I'll call all the real estate agents tomorrow. Good, said Dad, visualising himself planting a field of corn. Mum got to work, and before long 3 Bears and the beach section was sold. That was the selling over and done with. Now for the really fun bit, tracking down a bargain. Got any 50-acre snips in Northland? Mum asked the first real estate agent on her list. Snips? I don't quite understand. Bargains? I'm looking for cheap land, said Mum, naming a price. Not for that sort of money, lady, said Agent 1 rudely. This is 1975, not 1920. Agent 2, 3 and 4 responded in the same way, only a little more politely. There's Grandad getting his dreadful idea to move the family to the bush. I have one you might like, said Agent 5. When would you like me to take you to see it? Tomorrow, when the kids are at school, said Mum. The day was a wild success. The weather was beautiful, the car was new, and there were no children tagging along. I've found paradise, raved Mum. The view is spectacular. It looks all the way down the Hokianga Harbour. How many acres? Asked Dad. 50, said Mum, all with fabulous views. Was it bush or pasture? Steep pasture with a bit of bush, but the view, oh, doggerel, said Mum, using his pet name. I wish you could have been there. It was spectacular. We could go and have a look at it on Saturday, said Dad. Yes, said Mum, that's a marvellous idea. Saturday dawned bright and beautiful. That, however, was one of the few things that the two trips had in common. The agent's car was sleek like a wasp. The engine purred and the black vinyl seats smelled new, whereas our car bumbled like a bumblebee. The engine rattled. The leather-red seats were crazed with age. Moreover, they tasted salty, and therein lay the chief difference between the 2 days. No children lolled in the back seat of the agent's car, chewing the upholstery and grumbling. "We nearly there yet?" Rubella whined as the car bounced and judded along the gravel road. "No, have a wee way to go," said Mum brightly. "See who can spot the most white horses." "There's one," I said, pointing out the window smugly. "There's another one," said Rubella. "That one doesn't count," I said. "It's got black spots." "It does so count." "Does not." "Does so." Rubella's voice was rising. "Does not," I shouted. "Quieten down, you two," said Mum, swivelling around and fixing us with a hard look. "Oh, look, a castle," gasped Antoinette, pointing at the ruins of an old meatworks. That kept us happy for a few moments, and the 3 humped bridges that left our tummies behind amused us for a few more. "We nearly there yet?" asked Rubella. "Still have a wee way to go," said Mum, "but the view when we make it there makes the whole trip worthwhile." "I bet it won't," I mumbled, leaning forward and chewing the back of Mum's seat. "It's spectacular," raved Mum. "In fact, I will pay anyone 50 cents who can look at that panoramic view and not agree that it is paradise." Antoinette, Rubella and I stared at each other in wonder. In the 70s, 50 cents was a fortune. For the next hour we sat quietly, thinking of all the ways we could spend it. I still had not decided between an ice cream or a bottle of fizz when we arrived. "Here we go," said Mum as Dad stopped the car next to a for sale sign. We tumbled out in a dishevelled heap and climbed over a sagging wire fence. "It's this side of the hill," said Mum, pointing out the boundaries. "Come and see the view." The hill was steep, and we puffed as we trudged behind her, eager to earn her prize. At the top, we paused to get our breath. "Now what do you think of that?" asked Mum dramatically, pointing at the stunning view of glittering water and bush-clad hills. "Is that not paradise?" "Nah," I said, deciding fizz would be better than an ice cream. "Nah," said Rubella, trying to work out how many gobstoppers 50 cents would buy. "Boring," said Antoinette, thinking of a big bag of bubblegum. Mum slumped into the long grass in a black mood, while us kids skipped about exploring. On the other side of paradise, there was another block of land. This too was for sale. Unlike paradise, it was covered with brambles and had no view. It did, however, sport a pear tree laden with fruit. Moreover, they were ripe. We gorged ourselves until we were sticky with juice. "Mum and Dad should buy this land," I said, filling up my sun hat with fruit. "Then we could eat pears every time we come here." "Yeah, let's tell them," said Antoinette, climbing back over the fence that separated the 2 properties. Oddly, Mum was not impressed with our suggestion. "We're going home," she said, stomping down the hill. "The trip was a nightmare," moaned Mum to Agent 5 on Monday morning. "And not only did the little hounds shatter my dream, they had the gall to insist that I pay up when we came to the first dairy. I think we need something closer to home. Do you have any snips within a 20-mile radius?" "I have 3 that might suit you," said Agent 5. "When would you like me to take you to have a look at them?" The thought of a childless day cruising around properties was tempting. Mum, however, was not going to fall into the trap of unreality twice. "Just give me a list of the properties and directions," she said, sighing regretfully. "I'll go in my own car on the weekend." So Saturday morning we set out for Mangataperi, a mere 30-minute drive away. The first property was the best value for money. The entire 50 acres lay in a sloping jungle of tall grass, unbroken by trees or anything interesting. Antoinette, Rubella and I loathed it on sight. We stood on the verge of the road scowling. "It has a view," said Mum, looking at the bland expanse of fields beyond. "Not a spectacular view like the view of paradise, of course, but at least has some sort of view." Good clean land, you could run a lot of cattle on this, said Dad, climbing the fence and pushing his way through the waist-high vegetation. Come on, kids, I think there's a stream at the bottom. The grass is too long, whined Rebella. Don't whine, said Dad. 9 is too old to whine like a baby. Get a bit of backbone. Come on, girls, climb the fence. I don't want to, I hate it here, I said, crossing my humps and digging in my heels. I wish you'd let me go to Megan's place for the weekend, said Antoinette, flopping down onto the grass, pouting. Her father was going to take us to the pictures in his sports car. Well, you can all stay while Mum and I go, said Dad, disappointed. What a pity I didn't bring gumboots, said Mum with false regret. There's another block of land for sale further down the road, she added hastily. Perhaps we should go and look at that one instead. No, all right, said Dad, retracing his steps through the wake of flattened grass. The second property was charming. It was dotted with trees, undulated picturesquely. A winding creek meandered through its dips and folds. I like this one, said Antoinette. It has such a pretty little dingle dow, admitted Mum, but it's not as good value as long grass. It's got lots of beautiful daisies, said Rebella, gathering bunches of bright yellow flowers. Ragwort, said Dad gloomily. Kill a horse in no time. And blackberries, I enthused, stuffing my mouth with juicy berries. Yes, blackberries and gorse, said Dad even more gloomily. Getting rid of them is hard work. Let's look at Mount Tiger, said Mum, glancing at the last property on her list. Mount Tiger. Cool, I said, fascinated by the name. Can we see the tiger? Said Rebella as we trudged back to the road. There won't really be a tiger, said Dad. There are no tigers in New Zealand. I saw a tiger once when Megan's father took her and me to the circus, said Antoinette in a British accent. Perhaps it escaped from the circus, said Rebella. If we find it, we might get a reward. There is no tiger, said Mum firmly as she opened the front door of the car. When we find it, I'm going to buy a yellow leather dress with the reward money, said Antoinette, climbing in the back, and I shall wear it when the newspaper reporters take my picture. That'll be something to show the girls at school. There is no tiger, said Dad, sliding in behind the steering wheel. That's right. As the eldest, I thought I knew more than the other two. It's called Mount Tiger because the mountain looks like a tiger. It's not really a mountain, said Dad. There are no actual mountains in Northland. Mount Tiger is a range of steep hills. It could have escaped from the zoo, said Rebella, doubling the possibility of a tiger. There are lots of places on a mountain for a tiger to hide, said Antoinette, thinking of her new dress. That's right, said Rebella, slamming the door shut. The drive to the Mount Tiger property was an experience. The car growled as we ground along in second gear over the red gravel road that rose and plunged along the ridge. Well, this is like riding the roller coaster Megan's father took us on, said Antoinette, forgetting to be British in her excitement. I'd rather ride a roller coaster, I said, peering out of the window at the steep drop on either side of the road. It's safer. Does anyone need a car sickness pill? Asked Mum weakly, as the car slewed around a hairpin bend and bounced in and out of potholes. Nobody needs one, said Dad, as we shuddered to a halt beside a for sale sign. We are here. This looks pleasant, said Mum, climbing out of the car stiffly. That is a very nice paddock, she added, looking at the field of lush grass. Yes, said Dad, looking pleased. I was expecting steep land, but this is gently rolling. I don't see any tiger, said Rebella, disappointed. You are such a baby, said Antoinette. It won't wander round in the open. It will be hiding. Yes, there are many places to hide on a mountain. It might be in that bush over there, I said, pointing at the bush bordering the field. 1,000-acre bush reserve, now that's the best neighbour to have, said Dad, drawing our attention to a Department of Conservation sign nearby. 1,000 acres? Squeaked Rebella, delighted. A tiger could easily hide in 1,000 acres. This isn't a mountain and there is no tiger, said Dad patiently. Your father is right, there is no tiger, quavered Mum as she looked at the thick, dark bush nervously. There is no tiger, she repeated in a tone lacking conviction. Obviously the reserve is the left boundary, said Dad, changing the subject. But how far along the road is the right boundary? 1/4 of a mile, said Mum, examining her list. Dad squinted into the distance. I must include those 2 paddocks, he said, pointing at the neighbouring fields. He pushed the gate open and we trooped into the field. At 40 acres, it was the smallest of the 3 blocks, and at first glance, the flattest. We were in for a surprise when we got deeper in, however. A gale whooshed up around us as we breasted the slight rise, and the land plunged into a deep, bush-clad valley that snaked into a glimpse of the harbour. What a view, enthused Dad. Land like that will be crawling with possums and wild pigs. Just the thing to bring out the pioneering spirit in the girls. They're spectacular in a wild way, agreed Mum in a faint voice that the wind whipped away. There could be hundreds of tigers living down there, shouted Rubella. The girls at school will be so jealous of my yellow dress, beamed Antoinette. And I, leaning on the wind with my arms outstretched, felt my soul soar with the hawks riding the thermal waves. It was unanimous. We had found heaven on earth. You won't regret it, said Agent 5, handing Mum and Dad the title deeds on Monday morning. If you decide to subdivide and sell the small paddock on the other side of the road, keep me in mind. There's a paddock across the road, said Mum, delighted with this windfall. Yes, didn't you realise? No. It's over there, said Agent 5, drawing a diagram on the back of an old envelope. Perhaps I should have gone with you after all, joked Mum. We might have bought the wrong piece of land. No harm done, laughed Agent 5. Nobody complains when they get more land than they expected. Especially when it's a flat pasture, said Dad. It is impossible to work out where the boundaries are in the bush. Provided you don't intend to clear it, said Agent 5. It doesn't really matter because you can go anywhere you like in the reserve, and after that it's all forestry. I might clear a couple of acres, said Dad, thinking of his grandfather's monstrous handsaw, but only because I want to teach the girls how to fell a tree. I love the bush. You'll be all right then, said Agent 5, shaking his hand in farewell. That is the first chapter of my mum's book, Little House in the Bush. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.